What's up, everybody? Welcome to another day, another dollar of quarantine with Christine. Actually, I don't work on Fridays, so it wasn't another dollar for me. But we are talking about dollars. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Brooke. Hi, Donovan. So, to catch everybody up, hi to Dr. Michael and Jenna. Every day I'm just talking to somebody that I love and enjoy, and we're talking about different things concerning the coronavirus. And this is supposed to be a global conversation. So, meaning, if you have more questions while we're talking, if you have comments, drop them in there. You are totally invited to do so. Hi, Faxon. So today, we're going to cut right to it. I'm talking with my good friend, Brooke. I got to figure out how to add her to this. I feel like this is like the big struggle point for me every day. Talk to us about money. So let's make it happen. Oh, what's up?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I feel like my head is taking up so much space. Sorry.
Well,
Okay.
you know, it just means that you're smart. You have a large cranium.
Don't know that that's quite what it means, but yeah.
I'm trying to be positive, so that's all.
Okay. Well, thank you for your positivity.
You are so pretty, Chitch.
Oh, Cheech. That's my nickname from Jenny. I'm so excited.
Oh,
also, I had to
cute.
show her how to watch this, and it made my heart so happy because the first time you were doing this, I was like, I don't know how to watch her do this. So welcome to your 30s.
It does mean that you're aging into the really not cool zone.
Yeah,
but like Jenny,
I don't think I've ever been
Jenny,
cool.
you have your own like business that blew up, you know? So you're cool.
I know.
You're doing so many cool things. Like this just takes you having like a finger. That's all you need to make this happen.
Well, I mean, you're doing the most back there. I think you're doing cool things. So
I'm drinking coffee, so that's pretty much the best thing I'm doing today. Okay. Cheers. Okay, so as people are jumping in, we should talk about like why I know you financially.
Why you know me?
Why do I know
Why
you?
do you know me?
Why do I know? Why don't you tell the people why I know you?
Why you know me? Okay, so my name's Brooke. And Christine and I had the wonderful privilege of being able to be pastors together in Bloomington, Illinois, which was so awesome. So I worked there for 8 years and did I was a junior high pastor and loved it. We met in college, even though I was much older. So, not much, I guess a couple years. I don't know why I'm making myself so old today. Then we worked together and got to be besties, and it was great. And now we just keep living life together, which is awesome. So, but now I'm out here in Denver. Oh, Mish, hi.
Hi, Madison. Yes, so now you live in Denver. What do you do now? Tell the people.
So now I'm a financial advisor. Oh, I love you too, Mish. So, so I work with high net worth clients and help them build retirement plans and build their portfolios and save for their goals and invest properly and apparently tackle COVID markets. So that's what I do for a living. So I literally meet with clients all day, every day. Being in sweats, I'm on day 12 of quarantine, and being in leggings for 12 days is like Christmas because I wear a suit every day to work.
The power suit. You switch like graphic tees for the power suit. So
had to switch that out. Yeah, literally boxes of
you know what I was thinking about is like if people don't know you as they're watching this, like I feel like your two careers are such a good picture of your tenacity. You did junior high ministry and then finance. Like couldn't be more opposite, but also both take a lot of chutzpah or whatever people would say.
I guess. Yeah, if I don't know, they're both a lot, but they're both so rewarding. So I feel like it's really fun now to get to tell clients because I always have to tell them like who I am and my background and stuff like that. And most people are like, she was a pastor. That's kind of odd. But like, I feel like my years in junior high ministry and just being in service, like to the church, like totally prepared me for what I do now. And so that's like really cool. Like I tell every client that like stewardship is something I'm so deeply passionate about.
Mm.
And when you're on a limited budget and every dollar that you're working with has been donated and
Yeah.
sacrificed for, it will teach you that every dollar matters. And then I think like working with kids, it's like I just tell them like we only have one life that we get to live, and so we get to steward it. So every dollar and every moment matters. And yeah, so I feel like junior high ministry really made me Christine.
But just letting everyone know that like everyone's here for Brooke and here to make fun of me. This is like an old like throwback Edge junior high ministry party. We got Maddie Douglas in here, Brooklyn Avery. It's fun.
I know. I'm like, yeah, these are very different conversations.
Yes, very, very different. So we're not talking about junior high ministry today. We are talking about money. So let's talk about money. First of all, what the heck is the market?
Oh my gosh. Guys, I just need you to know that Christine sent me that question and I laughed so hard because I felt like that was like kind of a ministry question where someone's like, what is God? And you're
okay.
Like, oh, that's a big question. So, but
you stop making fun of me. We're talking about serious things.
Okay, what is the market?
What is the market?
Yeah. Okay. So the market is literally a marketplace. So that is a real thing, and people forget that like that term. But yeah. So the market is where investors can buy and sell investments. So usually that has to do with having actual shares of a company. So having interest in a company. Now, typically when someone's like talking about the market, like most, I would say like the normal person like heard it on the news or like from someone that like the market is bad and they think that's like one thing. But like every country has a market and our country has multiple markets. So you have markets like the S&P 500 and that's like 500 top companies that are frequently traded here in the United States. You have the Dow Industrial, that's 30 industrial companies that we're measuring off of. There's the NASDAQ, which is all electronically traded. There's the Chinese market. So there's like markets everywhere. So like the general term market isn't great. There's also markets for different sectors. So like if you think about oil, that's been a conversation the last couple of weeks, or gold, that's been a conversation the last couple of weeks. So there's lots of markets, but typically if someone is talking about like the news or you heard like the market is down, they're probably talking about the Dow or they're talking about the S&P 500. So because those are like usually the ones that
recap what the Dow and the S&P 500 are. Hi Logan and Levi and Lauren. There. This is so fun.
So fun. So the Dow is an industrial average, which is kind of funny in today's day and age. So also, so the Dow is representing industrial like manufacturing, which is really important in our economy, which I'll talk about later. But and then the S&P 500 is like 500 of the top traded companies. So think like Amazon, Apple, Facebook, like major companies that make like a lot of movement for our overall society and economy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Look at all these fun people. Leslie Welke, what's up? Hey, Lissa. Yeah, so, okay, talk to us about why COVID-19 has been affecting the economy so much. And also, since I literally just learned, I didn't even know there's multiple markets. Guys, like, I'm like a real, I don't know anything about money besides I don't really have that much, you know? So, so now I know that there's multiple markets. Like, is this affecting the global market or is it really just the US? Can you clarify that first?
So this is very global. And that's why we started to feel it. Actually, it's kind of beautiful in like how the world is tied together because this started over in China and China produces a lot of things for us, right? So it started there and we're all just like going along with life. Well, they're having to quarantine and shut down businesses. And we are Americans that don't always think about the rest of the world, but our finances are affected by that. So like they had to shut production on certain things.
You know what's affected by that for me? My mom ordered me AirPod Pros and they were on back order until I'm getting them tomorrow because of the coronavirus. So this is real time. I was suffering.
This, I don't know that was suffering, but
I'm just kidding. Everyone in that tool bag. Okay, keep talking.
that
Sorry.
is an example of the global markets though, right?
Yes.
So yeah, like when Apple had to close those stores there,
Mm-hmm.
and then they actually reopened them the day that ours closed. And so like if you
Huh.
think
Okay.
about that, like it has a weird trickle effect, and sometimes we don't notice stuff like that. So what the question was, why is COVID affecting us?
Mm-hmm.
Was
Yeah,
that the
like why is
question?
it
Okay.
affecting the economy so much?
The economy, yeah. Okay, so I think that you have to start with.
This is like the most anyone has ever made fun of me on this thing, and I think it's because of your presence. They know. Everyone
I'm
knows.
sorry.
But you
Sorry.
are educating me a lot, and I'm not that smart in this area for sure. So
No
please keep
one
talking.
is. So I literally, every client that walks in my office is like, I don't really know much about this. I'm like, why would you? Like, it's the same thing as like walking into a doctor's office. Like,
Yeah.
why would you expect to know that? And so I always try
Yeah.
to put people at ease because it's like, you have your specialty and we have ours. And like, there's an opportunity for a conversation. And so,
I specialize
um,
in making gross games for children.
yeah.
Bruce, what's up?
Oh
Okay,
my gosh,
so
this
why
is so
is
fun. Okay,
why is
COVID.
COVID-19 affecting the economy so much? Question two.
Okay, so I think you have to start. So we kind of have to back up a little bit and start with like, what is a healthy economy?
Okay.
Because like once you understand like what a healthy economy is, then it's like, oh, well, this is why this is happening. And so you're probably hearing it like if you've watched the news or anything, or you just hear people ranting about things. But
Mm-hmm.
okay, so healthy market. If we think about markets are reflective of the income that companies and people are making.
Okay.
So employment matters, right? Healthy economy, we have jobs, so therefore we have money to spend, we can pay our bills, and
Mm-hmm.
companies are earning things. So we're earning, they're earning.
Okay.
Um, things like companies actual earnings matter. So the other piece of that is inventories matter. So if companies are making money, that means they're selling the products that are on their shelves.
Sure.
And if they're not selling the products that are on their shelves, that means they paid for them and they're just sitting there.
Okay.
So
Yep.
not good, right? We're not making money, companies are not making money, and then they already bought this product. So that's
Okay.
sitting there. And then we go to the manufacturing piece that we talked about earlier. And so there are manufacturers that produce those goods. So if companies are unable to sell them and buyers are unable to buy them, well, then that shuts down manufacturing too. And
Okay.
so it's just like a total trickle
So
effect. And
everything
then
is interconnected on
everything.
multiple fronts. Okay.
Yeah. And then the other piece is like, there's other layers of like borrowing, like loans and stuff like that. Like when it's healthy, a healthy economy, we're able to, but actually Jenny's a great example. Like a small business owner can go get a loan and start their
Okay.
business. Or me as a homeowner, like if I want to be a homeowner, I'm not a homeowner. If I want to be a homeowner, I could go get a loan and I could do it at a reasonable cost. So that
Okay.
kind of is all interconnected, but that means I, have to have had a job, or they have to trust that like Jenny's going to sell something, her small business,
Sure.
whatever that is. And so when there's like a
Elderberry
lack
syrup.
of
That's what she's selling everyone.
yes, also get it. It's so good.
It's
It's
good for
like,
you. Coronavirus. We need elderberry syrup.
yes, my mom raves about it. You can find her on Insta. So, yeah, so if you just think about it, like each one of those things like coincides with one another. And
Okay.
all of that comes to what we call GDP, which if you've
What is
heard
that?
that on the news,
I don't watch the
it's
news.
okay, it's gross domestic product. So all it's saying, like if they're like GDP is up or GDP is down, all that means is it's the sum total of the businesses, like what they're producing, and
Okay.
then the services, right? Because not everyone sells a product. Some people like
Okay.
cut hair and stuff like that too. So it's kind of the combination of all of that together to indicate like, is our economy healthy or is it not? So is it up or is it down? So then if all of those things trickle into it, so me as a consumer having a job, therefore I can buy something, therefore a company can buy something, therefore people are producing something, then that's going to affect that bottom line. So
Okay.
then when you think about COVID, it's like, well, shoot, it started to affect our manufacturing inadvertently because it started in countries that are really heavy in
Right.
manufacturing.
Yep.
And then as we start to quarantine and have to like be in here, and then they start to dictate what is essential and what's not essential, then that means like those small businesses or even big businesses, like this is going to wipe out a lot of like, you know, retail and stuff like that, because we're not going to the mall, or like we're not ordering I'm not going to order work clothes, I'm going to order more leggings, you know. And so there's kind of a shift.
Give me that Lululemon.
Yeah. No, I can't afford that. Actually, I'm just too cheap for that. So that's kind of how that all. No, don't spend that money.
It was. Let's move on.
I just don't. So yeah, so that's how it all intertwines, and that's why something like COVID can just sweep in and just make such a huge impact. And so because globally it's beautiful that we're all intertwined, it just has huge effects. So not only just in our country, but the world overall, which is why it affects the overall economy. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for real for speaking in our language. I feel like I know more in these first 15 minutes than I have my whole life. So thank you. I'm glad. That was an honest statement. Okay, let me ask you, because I feel like the things
I see you, Kristen Strunga.
Old Navy leggings. Oh,
that's where mine are from. Sorry.
I mean, you know, you do you, whatever. Okay, my question is this a good time to buy a house or to buy stocks? Why or why not? Because I feel like I've heard different people say different things.
Happy. Okay.
I meant by different people, I mean like all the stupid people I see on my Facebook newsfeed.
Oh yeah, people that are okay. So
like, but some people are very like,
stocks?
you should go do that right now. And some people are like, don't do it, you know. So
I mean, it's kind of tricky because so I'm a financial planner, so like one of the things I'll tell you, like talk about later, is like actually planning. So if you have a plan and that's a part of it, yeah. Like, have I been buying? Yes. Like every extra dollar I have, I'm putting in the market, because I'm sitting here watching, like we've had all this super, super high market for a long time. And people have probably heard that, whether you knew what that meant or not.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, it's overpriced, whatever. So it's expensive. And like Kristen Strunga and I, we like the Old Navy. We like a discount, right? Like most people want a discount. No one wants to pay full price for anything.
Yeah.
Except when it comes to investing, people like are a little delusional and they're like, let me just buy it when it's super expensive. And so they always want to buy when the market's doing really well, which is fine. Get into the market, like have a plan, all that stuff. But you're also buying when it's more expensive, and it's just part of it. So it's kind of a weird give and take of like, I don't think you can time the market. I like am very against like trying to time the market. However, like if there's an opportunity, like, and it fits your plan, yeah, you should take advantage of that. And we don't know when the bottom's going to hit, but I mean, if you get 30% off on a stock, like it's not a bad idea.
Does this kind of depend though, like what stage of life you're in? Like, because if like you're super old, you probably don't want to buy right now then, right? Because you don't know when the economy is going to shoot back up or the market's going to go back up.
Depends, like what disposable income do you have? So like that, again, that's kind of why like it's kind of like a weird thing, because you can't like give one-off like advice to everyone because of exactly what you just said. Like if you're 20 and you have an extra, you know, money or whatever, and like you're not going to use it for 40 years, well, yeah, that's going to grow and that's great. But if you're 65 and you're retired and you've got funds that you're not going to use for another 10 years, well, great. Like as long as you can make sure all your bills and stuff are covered. But I think that's why it's always like, it's just a bigger question than like yes or no. When it comes to like disciplined investing, now's the buy time. So if it's a part of your plan, like this would be the time to be buying. So, but it would be like, have a plan and be disciplined with it. So when it comes to housing is kind of tricky because I'm not in real estate, but so I think it's dependent on your market, where you're at, all that stuff. Like that's real estate is a different market. So it's another one of those markets. But interest rates are low. So like the Fed has kept lowering rates, which means it's cheaper to borrow. So that's helpful. Now, when that happens, demand could be really high, and you could like pay extra fees and stuff like that during that because demand is really high, so people can charge more for their service.
Okay.
But yeah, so I would ask like an actual mortgage professional for that, but it's a cheap time to get a loan.
Okay.
So that's not bad.
Helpful. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brooke, you are enlightening me. I seriously, I mean, that wasn't hard because I seriously knew nothing coming into this, but
that's the thing.
You are doing a great job. I just want to affirm you right now.
Most people literally know nothing, so it's okay.
I don't know anything. Okay, so can you tell me, do you think we're going into a recession as a official financial professional?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So that's a great question. I do. Yeah. I think that like, I don't know how long it's going to be or how intense it's going to be. But when we talk about the markets, like one of the things like we track is called the business cycle. And there are indicators that tell us a recession's coming. And so, and it has to do with those things that I talked about, like in a healthy economy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think we are. We're going to head into that. I don't know how long or how like big it will be.
Can I ask what qualifies as a recession?
Yeah, so what qualifies as a recession is 2 or more quarters of negative. Oh, people will say it like a couple different ways of like either that negative GDP, right? That we're down for our overall earnings. Usually that's constituted by a swing in the market of 20% down for 2 or more quarters. So those are usually like reflective of each other. But the key is 2 or more quarters. Like we had in 2018, we had a big swing. I don't know if people remember that because we forget really quick. Like when all the tariffs were coming out and there was like the fight with China about all that stuff, the markets freaked out for like a hot minute. But it was like 3 months. So it was really only 1 quarter. So that didn't count as a recession. It was almost as big of a drop. It was a huge drop. It was like 20% or more. But it wasn't a recession because it didn't last 2 or more quarters.
Dr. Michael asked the question, would you consider this market drop to be an overreaction? If so, is that why you're buying a lot now? Because you know he'll recover and autocorrect?
Yeah. So what I would say is yes, it's an overreaction in some regards, but I think it's indicative of the overall bigger picture. So one of the weird things that happens like that's different now than in the past with like trading and things like that is that the market pre-corrects for what's coming because technology is like so quick and we can see that like earnings are going to be down. Earnings have not been posted. Earnings post at the end of the first quarter, but the market pre-corrected for that. We're starting to watch. We have instant job reports. So we know how many people applied for unemployment this week, things like that. And so those are like pre-indicators of really what's happening. The market's already correcting for those. So I would say, yes, part of it is an overreaction, but the other part is it actually is indicative of what's coming and true facts. And the market just is so fast thinking that it's already ahead of us on a lot of that stuff. The good part about that, so like the encouraging part, is that it's not like way back when, like where you had to wait for the newspaper to come out and then you find out like all these people applied for unemployment, so the market just sinks. Like this is proactively doing it for us because we're smart and because we've built the technology to do that. So that's even when earnings come down and they report that they're down, like the market's already corrected for earnings to be down about 12 to 15%. Now, if they come down to like 30%, well, then it's going to correct more down. But I think, so the reason for me buying, and I would not say I'm not like aggressively buying every single day. I am disciplined buying, saying, oh, it's down right now, I'll buy a little now. Disciplined buying like every time, just say, oh, it's a little more down. Let me just add a little bit more. So I got a 10% discount today. I got a 15% discount another day. Oh, it was actually back up, but I'm still going to buy. So.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
In one of our personal conversations about this a few weeks ago, you said that we were due for a recession anyway. Can you explain what that means?
I can. Yeah. So, and I'm gonna draw a picture, but I don't know if it's gonna work for us. So, um, okay. So I talked about this earlier. There's a cycle. So the economy, really is based off of what we call the business cycle, the ebbs
Okay.
and flows to it. And the business cycle has four parts. It has the early, the mid, the late, and the recessionary. So I ask every like client that sits in front of me, like, how much do you know about it? They're like, I know nothing. They're like, actually, you know a lot because you've lived through it. We just wouldn't call it that, right? And so as we think about that, so I'm going to draw this and then I'll end up showing you.
Okay.
But okay, so we have the early, the mid, the late, and the recessionary cycle. So the early and mid, we can think about it like the seasons. So we think about it like spring and summer.
Okay.
Early and mid, like everything's going great, the market's going up. I always say like the sexy investments do really well, like technology and financials. And the reason why is because we're so hopeful, right? We all have jobs, we all got money in our pockets, we doing well. And so we're gonna go spend $1,000 on a new iPhone and like not bat an eye at it. So everything's doing well, it goes up, market goes up, 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 up. And then things change. We start to see that like that can't last forever. And there's a lot of things that can cause that, like whether it's a pandemic, whether it's technology changing, right? Like when the internet came out, that would have changed the economy and the way that businesses work, things like that. And so we start to transition, we see that kind of lighten up a little bit. Then we head into what's called the late and the recessionary cycle. So the late and the recessionary cycle, that's where like things get rocky, volatility stays around for a while. And we as consumers start to spend money on what we need and not what we want, right?
Yeah.
And so some of those companies really get hurt. We're seeing it right now, like people buying toilet paper. Like we buy what we need, though I don't think you need that many rolls.
You don't need that many rolls unless you have a more severe issue that
No one
you
needs
checked out.
that many rolls.
If you are buying that many rolls of toilet paper, let me know and I will pray for you.
Seriously. So over here, so it's like growth, like does really well in the spring and the summer, and then comes late cycle, which is like fall. So we want to harvest. We got a lot of money that we're sitting on. Let's harvest it. And then winter, it's gonna be cold. It's gonna be hard. But we either want to buy at that time, or we just want to huddle up and suck it up and go through it. And then we're gonna hit the early and the mid cycle again. And so. Yeah, so literally we always draw this for clients. So it's like what we want and what we need. Is this going to show up like the correct way?
No.
Yeah, kind of. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. But it is a loop. Early, mid, late, recession. And then it literally comes back around. So over here, it's like, this is what we want, spring, summer. This is what we need, late and recessionary. What ends up doing well in those things is like, utilities and healthcare, like super boring stuff because we just got to pay our bills. So that's like the thing. But that's kind of the way that our brains can think about it. So the reason why I said it's overdue is because a regular business cycle is like a regular business cycle is every 7 to 10 years. And we sat in the early and mid cycle for almost 11. So
that's so interesting.
The market was like on fire, and that's great. But like at some point, it's gotta like
it's gonna drop. Just normal. It's like normal life cycle stuff. We have a lot of like great comments and questions, and I promise you, we will get there because they're a part of some of my questions. So we'll hit all of those. Can you let's actually hit some of these. Leslie wanted to know, how do you choose what you invest in?
Good question. Planning. So again, there's so many indicators. We talked about this earlier, like whether your age is a factor, your risk tolerance is a factor, and maybe preferences. Like you could have clients, like I have clients who are like, I really care about socially responsible things, or I want to make sure that, I'm investing in certain areas of the world, stuff like that. So
that's so nice, Jared.
So sweet.
Stacy, love you guys.
And Stacy, love you guys. Yeah. So I would say like for anyone like to make the plan, and so you could use like online tools, you could meet with a planner, anything like that. But usually it's going to be indicative on like you really want to be diversified, right? You don't
Diversified
want to
in
have
what? Like in different
you
kinds of like
different kinds of areas of the market.
okay.
So yeah, so you don't want all your eggs to be in one basket. And then you just want to make sure that you have a plan so that you're not going, oh, I want to invest right now and I don't know what to invest into. So yeah, so what I would say is like use like it's up to your specific situation. Use a tool. So whether that's like talking to a planner, there's planners like at all sorts of firms. There's great firms like Vanguard or Charles Schwab or Fidelity or any of those companies will help you. And there's great online tools. So if you're just starting, I would say like start with one of those. Betterment's another one that has like a good online app for some of those things. But and then yeah, go from there to decide. So because what I decide is through my plan. Is that too broad or like too PC?
Um, no, I think I'll probably ask you a few follow-up questions on there, or Leslie,
Okay.
since you asked the original question, if you have like more specified parts to your question, please feel free to jump
Yeah.
that. Okay, so Jenny hit one of my other questions, which is the stimulus package. Is the government giving us free money? How does that work? Would they do that? Where is this money coming from? And then Jenny has a question
I
about taxes that will be after. But those are my initial things about the free
Ooh,
money.
free money. I love this question. If you are a taxpayer, you should be reminded this is not free money. So, because every dollar that the government has is our money. So this ain't free. You just
Okay.
get some of your money back.
Okay.
So, when we think about our government spending trillions of dollars, we're the ones that are going to pay for that. So now, do I think it's a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing at all. I think it's actually a very great thing. This is necessary and it's very helpful. And actually, they've learned a lot from prior recessions, which is really cool to watch. They've been way more proactive in this process, which Lord willing will help. But no, it ain't free money. So we paying for that. It's coming out of your checks and you paying it every year. So if you're not paying taxes yet, then you don't get any money. And
Okay.
sorry.
That's for all you children in this room. You're not getting any money. Bummer. You can't buy another
Your parents will get some on behalf
Switch or
of you,
whatever.
but let's be honest, they already spent it on you. So yeah,
Brooke just keeping it a little too real for all the young
sorry.
people in here.
I
Okay,
apologize.
so the money comes from our taxes, like from just like who knows when, the last couple of years. Are there any? Jenny's question I think is good. Are there any ramifications to personal taxes next year by spending that money that they're giving us?
No, the point of the money is to spend it. So, okay, so if we go back, healthy economy, right? They're influxing cash to us as consumers. You should go spend it. Like, and if you need the money, go spend it on something that you need. If you don't need the money, go spend it on something that you don't need. But the whole point is to influx cash back into the economy and to help generate it. So for us to go buy something at Best Buy or at Target or whatever it is and help earnings. So no, there's no tax ramifications for that for next year. The part of the point of the stimulus is to stimulate the economy.
Yeah. So, Brooke, you and I talked a little bit about this because before the United States ever really decided to go for this,
Oh yeah.
because Hong Kong is doing it for like the third time as of like recently, I guess.
Yeah.
And I am also a Hong Kong citizen. And these are really funny. Let me read this. Jenny says, Michael, I'd like to clarify, that's her husband. The stimulus package question was his question. And then Chris then says, can you please tell my husband the point is for her to spend it?
I love it. I'll text him.
Which is amazing. But when we were talking about it, so Hong Kong, I get free monies from Hong Kong, not free monies, but I get money from Hong Kong and from this stimulus package. But when we were talking about it originally, you were kind of explaining to me like, why has the United States never done this before? But you said that they have stimulated the economy in other ways. So how have they done it in the past? And why do you think they're doing it like in this form now?
Yeah, so technically they have done it before. So I did a little more research from our conversation.
Okay.
Like they did it in the in the financial crisis,
Okay.
but it was less. It was like half the amount. It was like 600
Okay.
bucks, and you could go do that. And so so they have done it before. Typically, the way that they do it, though, it's different. Yours actually kind of is free money from Hong Kong because you're not working in Hong Kong. You just are a citizen. That's very different than the way that our economy works. You have to be a citizen. The rules state you have to have made at least $2,500. So that means
Mhm.
like not everyone with like no income is accounted for. So
Okay.
there are some gaps. Like
Yeah.
if we actually ever really got into the nitty gritty of that. So yours actually is free money there. But yeah, so typically they do it um, tax deductions. So
Okay.
instead of just like sending us a check, they give us a tax deduction. And so then we get the money back on our taxes
Hmm.
instead of them just like directly sending us a check at one time for everyone.
Sure. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Jenny's hitting you hard with this next question. Let's get deep, bro. Biblical view of investing. How much is too much?
How much is too much, like in terms of investing?
Yeah, biblical view of investing.
Hmm. That's deep. I
He's
like that,
coming
Jenny.
for you.
I like it. Well, I like it because you and I have talked about this so much. Like for
Mhm.
me, like faith and money are so intertwined. And so I know like
Mhm.
some people here like are faith people, some people aren't, but like for me, they
Mhm.
go hand in hand. And so when we talk about stewardship, like that is deeply ingrained in who I am.
Yep.
And so like every dollar as I think about that matters. And so I feel an obligation. Um, Ooh, I like that. Investing for a future return instead of providing for a need right now.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. So I think um, some of this is not going to be totally like scripture. And so because I think when we like think through like the context of scripture and culture, we live in a culture that is not going to take care of your future. And
Mhm.
so that's really hard for us to like really think about. We don't live in a culture where like kids take care of their parents. Like you go to a nursing home, if you have enough money, if not, you're going to be on Medicaid or whatever that is. And we
Mhm.
have a pretty broken system. And so
Hmm.
I think our wallets share what we care about. And so
Hmm.
for me, I don't want to overinvest. Like not all of my money is going to the future. But I am going to prep for it because I think that I need to steward that money and not be a burden on either a system or on people. And so I think that that's an important thing for me. And then the other part of it, like thinking through every other dollar of the wallet share. When we think about that, like a portion of it, like is I just know that like every dollar is not mine. Like the Lord entrusted that to me, and so I want to have an open hand with it. I want to give it back, and
Mhm.
so some of that is like just saying, hey, this is not mine, and so I'm going to give that back. So whether that's through tithing or I know people do that through organizations and things like
Yeah.
that. And then the rest is just like stewarding my daily dollars of like, okay, how can I live within my means? How can I provide for myself and prepare for the goals, like the things that like God's instilled in me.
Yeah,
So
that's
like
really
I want to have a family. I want to own a home. I want to have that stuff. Am I hoarding my cash? Nah. So I still am going to live my life to the very best that I can. But that's kind of how I
yeah.
think about it is that like God gives us the opportunity to steward every dollar and thinking through it in that way.
Yeah.
So
And Brooke Yarbrough for president in 2020. What I will say too for everyone watching this is like, Brooke, as much as you talk about investment and like, I can feel like that can feel like such a sterile conversation and about like, the future and all that stuff. Like you're one of the most generous people I know. And I see the way that you live your life, like towards so many people, just freely giving. And so that's like, not just like, oh, I'm just gonna put some money in the future and take care of myself right now. Like I know that your life you give so much to so many, and including me. I've been a receiver of that. So, and I think your point about our culture of not taking care of like people when they get old and all that stuff is really interesting because obviously I come from an Asian family And
Yeah,
and
that's why
that's
I
so
wanted to
different.
talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is really interesting because like one of the discussions that my sisters and I have started as of the last couple of years is look at you have like a whole cabinet that's forming in here right now
Oh
for
my
your
gosh.
presidency. It's nice. Uh,
Also, Jenny, Cheech and Shams 2020.
oh my gosh, what a campaign!
Woo!
But like with my family, my sister and I have started talking the last couple of years, like who's gonna take our parents once they're older, and part of that is too like in Asian culture, it's such a dishonor to let your parents be old and then put them in a nursing home. Like
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
like that's not a thing. And it's been interesting because I feel like one of the things that's been cool to see our parents like in a way like weirdly adapting is like they have said like we don't want to be a burden to you like and we don't want you to feel like you have to do that, but for us I think the more we embrace like our heritage and figure out who we are and where we come from, we're like it's our honor to get to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just like it's such an interesting thing to think about how do we do stewardship well depending on our cultural context, and that for every person and family that could be different. And I think that goes back to your planning and how that has to be tailored to the individual.
Yeah, because the other piece, like for me, like part of my plan will be to like help my parents in
Mm-hmm.
retirement. And that's like something a lot of people don't think about. But it's like,
Sure.
because like some people will inherit money, right?
Yeah.
But it's like also like, and I want to steward that piece too of like, I only need so much money. Like even if I have kids, I don't need to leave them millions of dollars because hopefully I equip them to be, great functioning, whole and healthy, contributing adults.
Yeah.
And so I also don't need to do that. So that's another piece too of going, like, I don't need to hoard that. I need to just, how do I steward it? Like, and I'll miss the mark on a lot of it and that'll be fine. We'll figure it out as we go. But, yeah, I think that was such a good question. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is interesting how the different cultures do that and we'll just face different realities. Like
Yeah.
if you're 30 something and you've not talked to your parents about that, like there is some huge shortfalls. Like I can just tell you right now, there's a huge income problem for our parents. And if
Mm-hmm.
they think they're going to sustain their lives, there's a very small percentage that will be able to sustain their lives, take care of their medical needs and things like that if there's not major change.
Yeah.
And that's not a political thing. Like for me, it's like I could care less about politics. So it's like,
It's in the
okay,
numbers.
it doesn't matter what that happens. How do I steward my life to be able to take care of both my family, my needs, all of that, and live generously?
Yeah,
So
that's really good. So let's talk about like in with like everything that's going on in the economy. A lot of people are losing their jobs and receiving pay cuts. I know I received a pay cut this week, and
I
so
know.
uh, it's all good. But what
Mm.
financial advice would you give to somebody who has just recently lost their job or received a major cut in salary or hours?
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple things, and I thought a lot about this, and I feel
Okay.
like I have to like headline with saying like I'm so sorry, like it just sucks.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like we have to acknowledge that, like especially for people like I'm in such a privileged spot, and so it's like my job, I just work from like home now, it's like I still do the same thing every day. Everyone's talking about like having all this extra time and I'm like, where is that? Like I'm still working all the time. So I feel like I have to like say that from that place of like
Yeah.
knowing I'm in like a super privileged spot. But so what I would say for the people that like very practically, if you've lost your job or if you have like that, if you've lost your job or if you have less than half of your hours, you have the right to file for unemployment. So like I know that's weird. Probably a lot of people haven't thought about that, but that's a real thing. So your first step is utilize the services that are available to you. So you could file for unemployment even if you didn't fully lose your job,
Hmm.
but you lost like half your hours. That's a right to you. So check with your state, do that. Second one, spend less. Like I like very practically I have to talk to you as like an advisor and say like you're home right now. You might need to eat a lot of ramen and cereal and just make life a little simple, right? To
Yeah.
focus instead of the money on what we want, the money on what we need. It's a very practical thing to say what can I cut in my life. Third, this is the time for an emergency fund. If you have one, use it. This is an emergency. That's a very real thing. And Jared just asked, less than half the hours can qualify too. Yeah, here in Colorado, if 55%, if your job went down 55% hours, you can file for unemployment. So
Yeah,
you'll also be included.
there are different
Okay.
caveats, aren't there, though? Because like I learned, like when my pay got cut this week, that like technically if I lose my job, at least in Arizona, clergy, you can't file for unemployment even if you lose your job. So, like, so.
Yeah, that's why I said you have to check with your state, because it's like I'm talking from Colorado.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where everyone is. Yeah, so next one, like if you have an emergency fund, use it. It's the time. A lot of Americans do not, which breaks my heart. But if you have one, it's okay to touch it right now. Like give yourself permission to touch
Yeah.
it, because this is an emergency. So
Yeah.
that's okay. Next one, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are so many opportunities. So maybe that's using your network to call family, to call friends, to help with things like that. There are some really good networks. So look for networks. I know, like I have a friend that is a freelancer in Portland and got let go, and there's like a network of freelancers that will help connect them, which is really cool. And so like think about like outside your box. And I think in light of that, like remember that you're not alone. Like you're not alone. And I think like right now, like there's the opportunity for you to feel like stuck in shame or guilt or whatever it is. And like, we just got to recognize like not alone. And I think that's really hard for just regular people, but especially for people who might be a little older. I'm hearing that from a lot of older people. Like they don't want to talk about that. But we got to talk about that. So it's just like a real thing. Oh, you're buffering.
I'm buffering?
Yeah, oh, I don't know. Yeah, your video. So the other thing, Jenny brought this up earlier, stimulus is coming. That is a real thing. Trump just signed it. It won't be overnight. And I'm like, that sucks. Like government moves slow. It's just a reality. But if you qualify, that will be coming. It'll be $1,200 per individual that, is working. And as long as you don't earn too much money, but then you're probably not asking me this question. And $500 per kid that you have, which is good. And then I think, so as a planner, so if all else fails, if all that stuff fails and you have retirement accounts, touch your retirement accounts. So I don't want you to touch them, but if everything else fails and you're still working, like lower your contributions. It's a very practical thing. Like right now, maybe not the time to save. That's okay. And if you really have to pull from them, you can pull from them. The stimulus package includes that you don't get a 10% penalty for pulling it out. So that's usually the biggest thing is if you have to pull out of a retirement account, you pay taxes and you get hammered with more taxes. And this gives you a grace period for that. So
I didn't know that. That's a really good, helpful point.
Up to like $100,000, which if you're spending $100,000 in the next 2 months, don't.
You don't need to do that, probably.
No.
That's good. Yeah, so can you talk about like what financial cautions would you give to everyone across the board during this time? And then what financial encouragements would you give to everybody across the board at this time?
Yeah. So I would say facts over fear right now. Like this is a time where a lot of stories are being thrown our way. If you're on social media, you're seeing stuff. If you watch the news, even if you don't watch the news and you don't check social media, there's just so many conversations, right? And at the end of the day, news has to produce news, right? So they always have to have a headline. It doesn't mean that it's always facts. And so right now, like we need to lean into facts over fear, because right now, like fear wants to grip us and it wants to either, make us blow out of a plan, or it wants to make us like just, take all of our money and stick it under the mattress, or like just make like crazy decisions that we wouldn't make in any other context, right? Like if this is a decision you wouldn't make in other contexts, that's probably a flag that is a fear-driven thing. And so it's okay to feel whatever feelings you're feeling. Like feel the feelings, do not act on the feelings. So go talk it out, go do something. Facts over fear. Like really dig into the facts. If you don't know the facts, call a professional that knows facts. So if it's like financial stuff, like, or read articles from like trusted organizations or firms, things like that, who have gone through this before. This is not new. Like literally it's a cycle. This is expected. Like the virus is not expected, but it's still, I tell every client, it looks different on the outside, but it literally does the same thing internally for financials. So we've gone through it before. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And then if you have a plan, stick to your plan. Don't like, again, just like keep contributing to your 401k or your IRA, whatever that is. Just keep going. It's going to be okay. You're actually buying low, which is really good. So stick to your plan. Don't freak out. Don't sell your investments right now. Just stick to it. And I know that that's like really hard, but like, again, tell your fear there's hope on the horizon. We're going to get through it. It's going to be okay. If you don't have a plan, now's the time to make one. So again, before you make any decisions, make one. You probably have extra time on your hands. So maybe download an app, maybe do some research about investment firms that might fit you well. You literally can start an investment account with $10 and that's okay. So if you don't have a plan, you could start saving. Or you could start thinking about what can I do once I get through this? So you have action steps to look forward to. So
that's good.
Don't let the fear take over.
Yeah, that's really good. Kristen says this has been a refreshingly intellectual conversation that she's needed because she's quarantined with 2 4-year-olds. But let's be honest, the intellectual part has been Brooke, and the not intellectual part has been me. So
but also all people that have parents or that are parents that have kids in the house, like the Lord bless you
and keep you.
Because I can tell you right now, I could not handle it. Yes, seriously.
I love what you said though about like just not being driven by fear in our finances. Like even like this week, and I as we were coming into this conversation, I've been thinking about, you know, just money stuff, especially like with the pay cut that I'm experiencing, all that stuff. Like I was just thinking about like this is such a great time for all of us, like wherever we're at in life, whatever amount we're making, like to think about the kind of legacy we want to leave, you know. And I was just thinking about like how there's been all these posts like one day like we're gonna tell our grandkids about how we lived through, you know, the coronavirus or whatever. And I was just thinking, especially with our money, like I hope to get to that time, you know, if I have grandkids one day, to talk about the ways I lived generously and without fear. And you know, it was really cool because I was talking with my parents about, you know, my pay cut, and they're just like, are you okay? Like, are you doing fine? And like one of the things that for me what was so personal was like I'm not super worried, not because like it's not going to be financially difficult, but because of the legacy they've left for me. So when we first moved to the States, my parents didn't have an income for the first like 6 years that we lived here. And then we moved to New Hampshire when I was in the 4th grade. And I thought that that's when my parents started like making money, like having an income. But it turns out they didn't. Like they had like their rent paid for by the organization they planted with. And then my dad told us that they survived on $5,000 for the first year and a half out of their personal savings. And they had 3 little kids, you know. And like that's insane. Like I'm like, I have no idea how they did that. But to me, I'm like, that's a legacy of their faith and the legacy of like the way that they are so like just forward thinking and not living in fear with their finances. That I'm like, for me, I want to live like that, you know, like even if like at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm never going to be rich. Like that's okay. Like I want to get to that in my life and think, man, like I was courageous and I was generous, you know? And I feel like your advice spurs us towards that.
Well, that's like, I hope, like, right, like I hope that we can live lives like that. Like I think so much of that, like I thought about it a lot, like because as we're asking the questions, it's like there's so many people that are affected in like really poor ways. And then it was like, as someone who's like, I guess it's inconvenient, I can't go to like Target right now, like I was like thinking about so much, like for those of us who just can work from home, it's like, okay, what impact can we make? And so like for us, it was like actually we'll do that after this. Every Friday night, it's like, okay, what local favorite restaurant are we going to order from, right? And then what small businesses can we order products from that we already do, or that we were going, or we've talked about. It's like, okay, let's actually do that. So,
Yeah.
and then are there people in our lives that need things, because they're very direct family and friends that are impacted by it. And so then it's like, okay, like, can I trust that like God's going to continue to provide for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I can say, nope, I'm not going to be afraid of this. I'm not going to hoard. I'm not going to hoard TP. I'm not going to hoard my money.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just live open-handed. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like this is like really where we see people's character.
Yeah.
So I think Dr. Michael talked about that when he was on here. He was like,
Yes.
this shows your character. And I think that happens with money too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, whether I'm like getting screamed at by a client, or whether I have clients who are like, thank you, like we were ready for this. So, but yeah, it's like, what does that look like in the everyday?
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so just if you guys have more questions, drop them in now because we're closing it up. But
yeah,
we had a fun question earlier that was, if you had $1,000 to invest right now, what would you do with it? What would you invest in? Or maybe you wouldn't invest. What would you do?
I'm so boring. I would say like, what does it fit my plan? So where do I
not be a loser like, for 1 second?
Oh my gosh. I need a new iPad. So maybe I would buy a new iPad. Because mine's falling apart. But no, I probably would invest it. I don't know. According to my plan. I would probably put it in my house fund. I have a house fund. So that's probably what I would do, because I want to buy a house in like, the next 5 years. Yeah.
That's good. That's not what I'm doing with my life, but you go.
Can I just tell you, like, when we talked about stimulus, my friend was talking about what he was going to spend it on, and I was just like, oh, it's just so hard to think of like spending. So I feel with like Kristen's husband Mike, it's like, oh yeah, you want to like stick it away sometimes, but no, yeah, it's like weird to like, oh, I would, Jenny, that would be great. Have a house party. Yes, when this is over, I would spend $1,000 on a freaking good dinner party.
Ooh, get turned.
That sounds fun. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so final fun question is, what are the free movies or shows you would recommend for quarantine?
I would recommend that you read more and watch less TV.
Wow. Why are you always coming for people? It's just
if I'm allowed to say that
question.
If I'm allowed to say, like, come on. But actually, okay, my 3 things. 2 are financial, so sorry. 1 is...
Okay, everyone's writing about Love is Blind, and I've, like, almost done watching it because everyone has been recommending it. But you
still don't like it, do you?
It makes me so upset.
Well, that's the whole point. It's like, it should infuriate you that people don't know how to communicate.
The point of, okay, never mind. I can't go on that rant right now. Anyway, please talk about the shows.
So, sorry, the 3 things. I'm really, well, I don't know if it's good yet or not, but Ozark season 3 came out today, and I'm very excited for that. Dirty Money is like one of my all-time favorite shows. It's kind of not great on the financial systems, but also be educated, people. And then, the last one, a feel good, is Peanut Butter Falcon.
Oh.
Have you watched that?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh, you have to watch it.
Okay, I will watch it.
It is like, if you want to like feel good and be like, we can do this. Like,
Kristen Strong is killing me right now with the Love is Blind quotes. #Messica. And I'm 34. Okay, Peanut Butter Falcon. I'll watch that one.
Yes, Jenny says peanut butter. It's so good. Like, if you want to like feel
and
good,
Jenny,
you would hate the other
two too.
I want to watch Tiger King too. We've been seeing all the posts.
We should do a Netflix party. You know how you can do that with the Google thing now?
Yeah. The Big Short, Kristen. Yeah, okay, so here's the thing though, is I don't want to like fear to spur on fear. So like the financials have come a long way since then. We're a lot healthier place. So, but great movie if you could handle it.
Oh my gosh.
Gave me a strange crush on Shia LaBeouf. Yeah, he was great.
I believe
You're welcome.
Even Stevens, also great. Okay, this is getting a little bit
out of hand.
Yeah. I just had a sound effect for us. I didn't really know what else to say. But thank you so much for teaching me all the things and for teaching
Yeah.
all of us. And thank you everyone tonight. This has been so fun because you guys have continued to like talk with us. Like that made it so fun. I loved it.
That was really fun. That was fun. Yes,
Oh
I
my
love
gosh.
it.
Okay, love you. Talk to you soon.
Love you. Okay,
Bye.
bye.